Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer, so let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know I usually have comedians on the podcast, but lately I have been branching out and having other incredible people who are impossible and fascinating. Okay, that's a private joke. But I am so excited. You know, I do a lot of research for my podcast, but when you can read a book that your guest wrote that is so engaging and fun to read and like page turner and brutally honest, you know, for someone like me, it's just like a gift. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have author of Bob Goes to Jail, the one and only actor, ice cream maker, dad, brother.
Bad drug dealer.
Really bad drug dealer.
Really bad drug dealer.
Half Jew. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Sedgwick is here. Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Judy. That's like the nicest intro I've ever gotten. Actually, but I'm a full Jew because mom's a Jew. So
I know that's right. Mom's a Jew. But you know, you can't get rid of that Waspo Sedgwick. It's in the name.
It was funny because a really good friend once said to my mom, she said, "Patsy, I don't care how many pairs of tennis shorts Robbie owns, he's still Jewish."
I love that. And I love that you guys, and you talk about being Jewy in the book.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to say, guy, when the book's coming out,
July 27th. July 27th.
Like, if you want summer reading at the beach, this book is fucking great. And especially if you've lived, or you know New York City, it's such a fun read. I mean, I know it wasn't fun for you, but it's a fun read. It's like...
it's fun in retrospect.
Yeah. So, Rob, your life is fascinating. And I think it's sort of like this book, you know, because I grew up in New Jersey, but my kids grew up in Manhattan, and but they went to public school. They didn't go to your fancy private schools, but they had a lot of fancy friends,
right?
And also, like, just the experience. I mean, you were in Croton on Hudson until you were like 8, correct?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, good for you. My God, wow.
Everyone comes on and it's like, this is your life.
That's
and
incredible.
Then you moved to New York with your mother, Jew, and your new stepfather, her new Jewy, annoying, like controlling,
really
very
tough guy,
wealthy,
tough guy,
husband.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny reading about growing up at that time and just what my kids, you know, because one of my, oh God, this fucking hair.
You look great, don't worry.
Is an athlete. And the other, I would say, was a little bit like you. So I'm saying a little bit, but not.
Okay.
So from the very beginning, you are from the incredible Sedgwick family, which...
I don't know how great they are, but
signers of the Declaration of Independence, you know, like just history here in the United States.
We've been here a long time.
Right.
I think that's the only thing that's, you know, we've just been here for a while. If you've been here for a while, some things have happened.
Right. So you've been here very early. The problem is the American or the Native Americans were here before you, just letting you know.
Oh, yeah. No, I know that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do. And I guess it would be your second cousin, Edie Sedgwick.
Yeah.
Right, because I think she was first cousin once removed of your mother. I was trying to figure it out.
I think she's first cousin once. Let's see. She was my first cousin, my dad's.
Right.
And then, so I guess it's
second cousin.
Second cousin. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So wait, first cousin. Yeah. Right. Or first cousin once removed.
Something like that.
So if she had a kid, that would be your second cousin. She's your first cousin once removed. Okay.
Right.
So I'm just saying this, and we don't have to talk about it, but I was obsessed with her. I read that book, Edie, when I was like 21.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
And that book, I had never read a book like that. And it was really in chronological order. And and they took all these interviews and put them together. So you just see the name of the person who was talking. And that was the story of that period of her life. And then would be a next person. And it would just continue on. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating and beautiful. And So you grew up in Croton-on-Hudson. Your father was a Sedgwick.
Oh, boy.
And you have a sister. You're the eldest. You have
I'm the oldest, yeah.
Kira, who many people may know, Kira Sedgwick. And you have a brother, Nico.
Yes.
And then you have another, like Michael Stern.
Michael's. Then I have a bunch of half brothers and sisters.
Brothers,
so I have from my dad's first marriage, Henry Stern, who my father introduced us to at a Harvard Yale game as a friend of his because he hadn't seen him in so long. So, which was pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad, right? I mean, Dad. Look, I love my real dad was great. He was a sweet guy, but yeah, he dropped the ball a lot. I mean, it was really not so great. And so there's Henry, and then there's Michael Stern, who's pretty world-renowned jazz guitarist, played with Miles Davis, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, yada yada. And then half sister Holly, and they're really interesting people. And they still lament to this day that my dad died 2 years ago, but they still lament to this day that he wasn't there. And they're like mid to late 60s. And when you talk to them, they're like you talk to Mike and he's like, yeah, man. And he wasn't there, like, what the fuck is that?
Isn't it fascinating? You never get over that shit.
Yeah.
It stays with you.
Yeah.
It fucking stays with you.
It's really tough. And so I'm always there for my kid. I do it way imperfectly, but I'm really on top of it. And it's and I fuck up all over the place. I know he's going to get older. Why do you swear so much? Why did you do this? You're so inappropriate. He even says to me now, like, Daddy, that's really inappropriate.
Right. Please, my kids do too. It's like, fuck off.
But he's 7.
Right. They're getting really precocious and they also, my younger son, when he was like 12, went through the space where everything I said, like I could say, open the refrigerator. He'd be like, that's racist. Every fucking thing I said. I'd be like, can you go down? Can you take the recycling out? That's racist. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Okay.
Okay.
So annoying.
So Caleb, no, because I got him on Bugs Bunny. Thank God. Okay. And he's on Bugs Bunny and he loves it. And he's memorizes like every episode, what season, who directed it, the animation, the quality of the animation. He's partial to Fritz Freeling, not as much Chuck Jones, later Chuck Jones in the 50s. His first one, his favorite is like Wacky Wabbit from like 1939. But we were seeing one the other day and he was going, that's racist. They would cut that out today. That's racist. That's a problem.
Crazy.
But he said it pisses him off because they're such great cartoons. And he said, compared to the stuff that they have today, it's so much better. It's ridiculous. And he thinks they're being like, he said they're being, judgmental about classic cartoons, and it really pisses him off. So.
Oh my God, I love this.
He's great.
He's going to go into show business. And you know what's interesting about that? I know, but it sounds like it. But cartoons, like that is so fascinating to me because number one, they're saying it's racist because we know more now. And and when you apply the way we think today to like the Dr. Seuss thing, when you apply the way we think and the things we know today to then, because Dr. Seuss was like Mr. Social Justice.
Oh, totally. Totally.
It's like the history, you really need to know the history, and you can't apply the way we think today to the way they, the intent of then, Yeah. But that's why we have the cancel culture. But this is so interesting. This is another thing. I teach. And one of my students, I teach, people how to write one-person shows. And one of my students years ago lived in the Philippines in a hut. And he became a classical pianist by listening to the background music of cartoons and imitating it.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's great. That's so great.
All right, back to you, Rob. So
I have lots of Bugs Bunny references in the book, too.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's such a good fucking book.
Thank you so much.
There was another reference you had, and I was like, oh my God, I say that all. You said like, here's Ben or something, and I was like, I do that all the time.
Well, so here's Robbie when I'm going into court.
Right.
When I'm going into court, and I'm like, and it's such a weird experience when you go to court because it's like you've seen it a million times on television, and we know what that. I mean, literally. Movies, TV, whatever. But when you're actually doing it, it's just so surreal. It's like your face is on your face and you're just kind of like watching and you can't believe this is happening, The
way you wrote about it as sort of like this out-of-body experience.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And your inner dialogue of your mother and your stepdad and your father. It was... I love, and your stepmom. It was really amazing.
When she said, "Here, I hope you have a breath mint."
Yeah.
No, she said because she was like, "Do you have a breath mint right where I'm going to go in?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she said, "I hope your lawyer had a breath mint because if the judge smells his breath, surely you're going to jail."
That was so funny.
And then you cut to my close up, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, you've got to be kidding!" I mean, you couldn't make that up.
Yeah. So you grow up in Croton-on-Hudson.
We started out in Yorkville, and my dad was district leader there. We started out in Yorkville at Brownstone for like the first 3 years.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then we moved to Croton about 65, and I have that reference in there when he was running for district leader, and then I was on First Avenue, and he put me on top of the car because the guy who was supposed to stump for him was late, and I got total stage fright. He put me in front of a microphone, and all I could say was "Vote for my dad," and it was like so lame. I had flop sweat at 3. I was just like, "Oh no, this is so pathetic." And then Bobby Kennedy showed up, and he was late. And then my dad was like, "Thanks, Bobby." And he's like, "Sorry, Duke," because that was my father's name in college was Duke. And then they took over. And Bobby Kennedy did much better than I did.
He had a gift.
Yeah, he was good. He had really nice teeth. Yeah. He had great teeth.
That's what you remember about him.
I remember looking up and seeing the teeth. That was the main thing I remember.
Oh my God, I loved him. Can you fucking believe it?
It's terrible. Yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
Your mom was a speech
therapist back then.
Or teacher for actors back then.
Yes.
At some point when you moved to the city, you'd have a lot of actors coming in, and she had sort of this.
Oh boy.
Midwest. You said Middle America, perfect.
Mid-Atlantic, sort of. Yeah. She'd speak in speech and speak very well, and it would be so annoying because she never spoke like that in real life. But I do have Edie's eldest sister, Alice, who we might do something in Great Barrington if she doesn't go to Portugal. She's a brilliant woman, brilliant. And she actually talks like that, but that's the way she talks. She'll say, "Oh, Rob, alas, I can't,"
God.
But it's real. It's not put on, and it's just, and she's a fascinating woman. And
talk like that.
Yeah. It'll never happen. I remember my grandfather spoke like that, and I had 2 aunts who spoke like that. And it's another era, man. It's just like, it's just gone.
I could never do stand-up comedy talking like this. Alas, I said, what the fuck is your problem? You ask your father in the car if your parents are going to get divorced. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah. And you then, what were you, 6, 7, 8? You regret, you said.
About 8, yeah. I thought I pushed him over the edge with that one, yeah.
Right, and you said, and that you regretted in that moment as an 8-year-old even asking that question.
Yeah.
You knew it.
Yeah. Well, they've been separated for a long time, but it was just, it's hard, I mean, I don't know if you've gone through that, but
yes,
I have one of my best friends who's not in this book, but he said, I went to Riverdale with him and he said, you were crushed. You were really crushed. And we've been friends since we were 14. He said, you were just, about your dad leaving. And it's just, that's tough for a kid, Yeah.
My first partner who I had my 2 kids with, we got divorced. Well, we weren't legally married because there was no gay marriage, but we separated. And the kids were 7.5 and 2.5. The 2.5 does not remember And
which is perfect.
Right. And the 7.5-year-old had the worst time with it. And still, I think there's still a lot of pain and agony that goes with it. But it's hard. It's,
I'm sorry, Judy. That's tough.
Yeah, it's just, and the last thing you want is to see your kids suffer. But okay, so then your mother is dating all these people. You said rabbis, like everyone.
Yeah.
And then she meets this other guy, Ben Heller.
Yeah.
Who is loaded, and his townhouse is full of art.
Yeah.
And you move into this huge.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. You've never, man.
You can't even see.
It was like moving in. Like imagine moving into like a room or several rooms at like the Met with Jackson Pollock blue poles, all the great Echo by Jackson Pollock, all the great Rothkos, the really great Rothkos, which go for like $500 million right now. Clifford Still. Barney Newman, the big Newman that hangs at MoMA, it's Erectus. I can't remember the name, but it's huge painting. Plus all this African sculpture all over the place. So, and we grew up like middle, really middle. I mean, we didn't want for anything. We felt fine. But when we walked into that thing, we were just like basically shit ourselves. I mean, it was like there was a butler. There was
you talked about that.
Fucking, and like taking my coat. And I'm like, I got my coat, I'm 8, I got it. And he's like, no, I'm taking your coat. It's like, oh, okay. And then there was this wood paneling, like when you walked in, like really fine, like you knew wicked expensive wood. And I would run my fingers through it when we lived there to clean my nails. And of course, when you walk in and saw this place, you were just like, I mean, we'd never been in anything like this before. And it was like, we're having dinner at the dining room. We meet my stepbrother. That was not the easiest thing in the world to be. And he's like, and I say in the book, he's like ringing an invisible bell, and like butlers and people who magically appear to take food. And I said, like in the James Bond movie, that would be the secret thing. They open the door for the man-eating sharks.
Right.
And it was just crazy.
It was funny the way you said, when you were moving in, you moved into Ben's daughter's Patty, I think her
Patty,
name
yeah. Who's really cool. She's great, yeah.
Yeah, she was leaving to go to college.
She couldn't wait to get out of there.
She could, you said.
Huge smile on her face. And I'm like,
have fun in my room. Like, and you were like.
We're like, why is she so happy? She's like really like way happy. And of course, when we got there, and the thing is, it's funny because this was at 151 Central Park West. Then we ended up moving to the townhouse on the east side.
Right.
But my sister, when she started seeing my brother-in-law before they were married, they went by the old townhouse, and my brother-in-law was like, "Oh my God, that place looks amazing." She said, "Yeah, it looks great from the outside, but believe me, being on the inside was no fun." And it was really like, it was also like the 70s, so people parented different, and you were like I was going to school when we lived with my mom. And my mom and dad were separated. We lived at 300 Central Park West, which is now like incredibly fancy. But back then, this was 69. This is the Wild West. I mean, I was in court by the time I was 9 years old.
Right.
Okay. And it was like, you were just, I was taking Nico to school, and we were taking the bus and doing everything on our own and, dealing with New York. And I have a couple of mugging stories in there.
Oh my God, the mugging story.
Yeah.
Wait, I got it. This one, which was the one where, all right, there was
cutlass?
one.
The one with the cutlass?
Yes. You're like, whatever. You would go to Schraff's, or you'd go to the east side and you walk through.
Schraff's, the best hot fudge you've ever had in your life. There's nothing that replaces
88th and Madison, right?
Oh yeah, it's the greatest.
You'd go with like one of your friends, and then you were coming home through Central Park.
Yep.
And you had already been mugged.
I was a veteran by then.
Yeah.
I had been in court already. I testified. I had been like, I knew something was happening like 2 blocks away, what to do, how to handle it, not to get killed. I mean, it was like.
It's so funny. And then this kid comes out with a machete.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, and he's like, This is the.
But then we were surrounded. But then one guy came
out. You see someone behind him,
and then it was an ambush. We were completely surrounded. I was with my little brother and a guy called Robert and me, and they had a machete to my neck. And Robert, the thing is, at Shraff's, Robert had been telling us how tough he was and how he had been mugged and what a great champion he was and how he could overcome this. And he was just like so tough. So sure enough, it happens. He's crying like a baby. I'm feeling terrible, but also I don't want to get these guys upset because I don't want to die because make them nervous. They have one to my brother's chest and then they start negotiating like, okay, so we'll give you the money back. And we had 6 pieces of candy.
You gave them 6 pieces of candy and whatever was left from the $20 your mother gave you, right? And then Rob starts hysterically crying.
Yes.
And they feel guilty. They're like, all right, will you stop crying if we give you like half the money back or something? And then
we got all the money back and 3 pieces. They made off with 3 pieces of candy. Yeah. So it was a different, you know.
It's just so funny how street smart you were at 8 fucking years old.
I think a lot of kids who grew up in New York were. I mean, you had to be, you know. I mean, it's just like
it was a tough time.
Yeah, man. It's like Smurfville now, New York.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like it's still a great city. It's the greatest city, but it's like, you know, but that's what made it great. You were with everybody, and everybody kind of had to get along, you know, do the best they can, and it was like there was a certain respect in a way that everybody had for each other, and it was great. And I
love the way you talk about everyone was from somewhere else. Everyone was a different color, different shape, different background, different parent, you know. And then your parents send you to some like waspy.
Oh God, yeah, the Goddard Gaieties. That was the funniest thing in the world.
And you're there for like an hour with their brother. So you're like,
with my brother, yeah.
Wasn't one person of color there, and you were like, I got to get the fuck out.
I said to Nico, I was like, why is this place so disgusting? And he said, there's not one black or Puerto Rican person here. And we left. We never went back. It was the funniest thing. It was like some kid with like, you know, custard hair and this perfect looking girl, and they're doing this. Remember this thing like da 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 da. And we were just like, what the fuck? I mean, it was like, you know, and we went to the day school, which is now Trevor Day.
Yeah.
But it was a really like amazing place. And it was like, you look at the yearbook picture and it's a whole mosaic of everybody. And, you know, there was we all really got along, and it was great. It was just a different, I guess, I don't know, a moment in time. But anyway.
It's just the dichotomy of you getting mugged and then walking in to see, you know, Jackson Pollock on the wall is crazy.
Yeah, no, that was just, it was crazy. The whole thing was insane.
Then you move over to the east side to one of the biggest townhouses.
Huge,
in the city.
Yeah.
And your parent, your mom, and your stepdad are like on a separate floor. So you're pretty much on your own.
Yeah. Me, Nico, and Kira are on our own. Yeah.
Right. And you start doing drugs. How old were you?
I don't know, like 15.
Right.
And I mean, I had the second chapter. I have like my sister and I are snorting like coke, and she was like 11, and she was the most street savvy person at that age you ever saw. And that's what I illustrate. That's in the book, you know?
Yeah.
And she had all these funky people working for us. They got ripped off constantly. They were con men. And then of course the guy Linus, who's, you know, who there was a literary agent I had this was years ago, and I met with her. She was like, is the character Linus still with us? I said, no, he died. She said, thank God, because we would have a lawsuit like you wouldn't. And she said, if his character were in fiction, no one would believe it.
It's pretty unbelievable. And I remember you said that when you first got there, and you saw the butler, and you were like, and you saw where the butler lived, like pre-cable. There was cable.
Yeah.
It was like an electric typewriter, like
crazy.
And you said, "Oh, how do you like living in this joint?" And the butler was like, "This is not a joint."
Yeah, it was downhill from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So your stepfather was a really tough guy. He asked you to move paintings.
Oh yeah.
And then would fucking scream at you because, it would get caught in the door or whatever. And anytime you did anything, it was like a trial.
Yeah. You got yelled at, I mean, if you're, I'm sure you yell at your kids, but it's benign, and they're not scared.
And then you apologize,
but he never apologized for anything, and he would scare the shit out of you. And these paintings are like, you knew what you were dealing with, and I was really careful. And these are like now. Blue Poles is with the Australian government. He sold that for 2.1 in 71, I think, which was that was Rembrandt prices,
right?
And it was like, and that now it's like priceless. It's like there was a buyer who actually, Ben's dead now, so I can say it, but there was an anonymous buyer got in touch with Ben, said he wanted Blue Poles. How much do you think it would cost? And Ben was like, it's priceless. You're talking about near $1 billion. And he said, well, I want you to ask. But this is the flip side of him. So he went to the Australian government and he said, I have a buyer for Blue Poles. The Blue Poles hangs with the Australian government. It is a treasured, the most treasured painting they have. Right. In order to graduate high school, you have to see this painting in Australia and apparently write about it. Okay.
Wow.
That's how valued this is. Right. So Ben went to the Australian government and he said, $1 billion for this painting, and they said, wow, so much money, what do you think? And Ben said, I don't think you should do it at all. The painting is too valuable to your country. Right. I think you'd be crazy. But this is another thing. He would have gotten a bonzo commission on that.
Right.
Bonzo, like huge. But he said, but that was the paradox in him, because he was like, no, you should. He loved the art. He was
the love of the art.
He loved it, and he loved these guys, and he loved Jackson, and and he was the reason. I won't go into it, but there was a huge legal thing with the Marlborough Gallery where Rothko killed himself, and Ben was a legit art dealer, and this defense lawyer is ripping through everybody, and Ben just sat there and looked at the guy, and the guy, he ripped up the lawyer just by sitting and looking at him.
Right.
And the judge said he had never seen, wasn't supposed to get back to Ben, but he said he never saw a witness like that.
Right.
But that was the thing about Ben. He flipped you out just by his looking at you.
Right. He had a powerful presence.
Oh my God.
And you read the book and you're like, oh my God, this is fucking crazy. The chapter you talk about, you're 15, Kira's 11.
Yeah.
You guys are doing coke.
Yeah. Had a great time.
Yeah, your mother comes to the door.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, let's go shopping with, to Kira or something. And
I kiss her smack on the lips to buy time for Kira to take care of the coke, because it's all over the desk, and there's a huge mirror and a snake. And I'm figuring I'm just doing the best I can. And I kiss her on the lips to stop her. And we're both like, oh my God, I think I crossed a line here.
Right.
And then I looked over and Kira was just like, she was fine. She was just like, hi, Mom, how are you? And,
And then they left, and you went back, and you were like, "Oh, the coke."
She saved it. She saved it. She got some message thing I had, which was hollowed out in the bottom.
Right.
You're talking 7 seconds. This 11-year-old. she was great.
Yeah. You're smoking pot. And then eventually
before school.
Eventually, you're getting up and drinking.
Yep. First thing in the morning. 6 o'clock, 6:30. Yep.
And it is, I think of my son, Henry, and I know now, when he's 24, that, they would meet before school to smoke pot, which, okay, I did a little bit of that too.
No, Judy, I can't believe it.
I know.
Oh my God.
But you never think your kid's going to fucking do it, which is so stupid.
Right.
But you're wasted all the time.
Oh yeah.
At school, and have alcohol breath. And there's this one great story of you're in love with this girl, Tara.
Oh yeah. She was amazing.
And it takes you 6 months to ask her out.
Yeah.
But the story about Tara in the math class, and you got your test back and you had a 55, and some kid was really upset because he got a 95 instead of a 98. and Tara says to the teacher, like, what it's 3 fucking points. Just make the kid happy. Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And you just fell in love with her.
Well, what I did is I threatened. I flipped over the desk in front of me. This is how scattershot the school I was at was. I flipped over the desk in front of me, and because he was yelling at Tara, and I said in the middle of class, I said I didn't know how to fight back then, and I said you better shut the fuck up. I'm going to kick your ass. Don't you fucking talk to her that way. And he was like shocked because I was such a sitting in the back fuck up and stuff. But I was like, I think I have a line in the book like I didn't have any idea how to fight, but I was going to learn pretty fast.
And you had this like faux confidence because you were wasted.
Totally. Yeah. Well, there's a drunken confidence you have with like, there's scary thing about drunks because you can take a crowbar to their head, but it doesn't matter. They'll just keep coming. Because they don't care.
Did your parents, I mean, your stepdad and your mom, did they ever say, like they had no they were so not aware of what you were doing ever? Did the teachers ever say, I think Rob is like, It was a different time. Like there was a friend, Ethan, who didn't make the book, but it was like we got drunk before tennis practice. And I was like, I went to tennis practice and it was either an ace down the middle or the ball went over the fence. And I was falling all over the place. And a couple of days later, the tennis coach was like, Rob, come here. I heard you were drunk at tennis practice. And I was like, yeah, I was. He said, okay, the next time you do that, you bring me. And I was like, oh, okay, got it, Mr. Miller. You know what I mean? It was just a different time, And I remember making out with a girl and she was like, no, I'm dating someone. I said, I thought you were single. And she's like, no, I'm dating Dr. whatever. One of the science teachers, it was just like. Yeah, oh my God. I can't tell you.
Oh my God.
They would have kids over to their houses. Like
we had a teacher doing mushrooms with us. He was in the lower school. He was a super nice guy, never did anything to anyone, just wanted to hang out. But it's like this older guy hanging out with teenagers, everyone's tripping. And it was like, it was just a different time, I mean.
You were doing, pot, coke, alcohol, and then you tried acid, your first acid trip.
Pretty bad.
You described that in the book. It's sort of like you guys were on your fucking own, know?
Yeah. They would leave for the weekend. They'd go to East. He had a place in East Hampton. And we just stayed in the city. And the second they left, and they were along with this guy Linus that she hired, who was a remarkable cook, remarkable classical recorder player, remarkable artist, and brilliant, like genius, but crazy as a loon, and it was like, and he had the best coke because his brother had been the dealer. His brother did 2 years state for major cocaine distribution, and he had the best coke in the city. And so we would get that from Linus, and Linus had a connection at a restaurant that was on Lexington Avenue. And I can't remember the guy's name, what I said in the book, but it was like, he was the guy we got our coke from, and we would like talk on the phone and we'd talk in code because we didn't, if the phone was tapped, being very like, super fly, I mean, it was hysterical. And we called them recipes. Like, do you have any recipes?
Yes. And then you end up going to Bennington College.
Yes.
It's just amazing. You go to this great fucking school.
Yeah.
I don't know. Your whole upbringing is just fascinating because you do have smarts. It's not like you didn't learn anything, but and you're culturally aware and you know about art and music and all this shit.
Yeah.
But you're fucking wasted all the time.
Yeah. Well, college, I was a little better. At least I got my work done. I mean, I was still fucked up. I got my work done. And there were some amazing teachers really like remarkable. Like I missed Malamud by like that much.
No.
Yeah. And, but the literary pedigree there was pretty amazing. I tried to get into a writing class. I won writing prize in my high school 2 years in a row but it's submitted anonymously. The essay was, because if they knew it was me, I never would have been considered.
They would have been like,
but I won 2 years in a row. And, but when I hit Bennington, I thought I could write, and I joined this writing class, and it was an advanced, and I read my thing, and I just got killed. And it was tremendous. It was like walking into a ring.
Right.
I box a lot, and it's like walking into a ring with someone who's so much better than you are, and they're just cleaning your clock all over the place. You get traumatized.
Right.
And I was just, and so I that was it. I mean, I legged out the class, and I just started turning to acting. And but there were some terrific teachers, and I did get some work done. You know, I did do well on some things, so it wasn't a total loss.
Right. And I mean,
and the acting I took very seriously. That I treated professionally.
It's interesting that you found something that you had respect for, and you really
never drunk during a performance. Yeah. Always did my work. It was way ahead of everybody else because I had committed to it and I knew what went into it.
Right.
Because my sister was a professional at that point.
Right.
And my godmother is Joanna Merlin. If that doesn't ring a bell, she was Hal Prince's casting director.
Right.
She's renowned teacher. She's a remarkable woman. So I knew what went into it.
Right.
And it wasn't a joke. But it was like after I graduated, I got a gig the second I got out, and I was making real money, for 84.
Right.
And it was like, but, and I thought like, oh, I'll just do this, this stupid soap opera because I want to be a Shakespearean actor.
Right.
And it's like having no idea how hard it is.
How much work. I mean, it's so funny because, Mike Brady on the Brady Bunch, Robert Reed, was a Shakespearean actor, and he hated being on the fucking Brady Bunch. But, the money called.
You had a lot of stage actors who did not want to be on TV because they loved the stage and they were devoted to the stage.
I love the stage. I love live.
Well, it's more. To me, the problem is now it's like you have all these people who don't go through proper training, and there's some people who are just great on camera, but for the most part, it's like they don't know a lot of them don't know what they're doing, or they knew what they're doing in front of a camera, but if you put them on stage,
oh please,
bye.
Hello, welcome to world of stand-up comedy. They do a funny video, and they get it goes viral. They get booked at a comedy club because
that's crazy.
People are going to show up, and they don't know how to do an hour on stage. They don't know how to write a joke. Yeah, it's awful.
That's terrible. Wow.
I love just going back to your mother. There's something she said to you that she said, always assume everyone else is an idiot.
Yeah. When she's driving. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys couldn't get on a flight, and she made you guys stand out in front of the plane on the tarmac to make sure.
I think I was like about 6 or 7. Oh no, Dad left us, so I was about 7-ish, 8-ish. And it was going to Tobago back then, West Indies, where my grandfather had a place. And he was a fascinating guy because he bought up this land in Tobago, opened up a cocoa plant, and 600 acres in the jungly back part of the island, and had a plant, sort of growing cocoa and stuff. And what was also cool about him, he made all the natives not work for him, but partners in the business.
That to me was so beautiful.
And called them all Mr.
I love him.
Everybody. And he always referred, but the flip side of it, he was really abusive to my mom, like my stepdad, and my stepfather too. As Nico says, his thoughts are so lofty, he wouldn't know racism if it kicked him in the face. Right. I mean, he didn't deal on that plane.
Right.
And, but anyway, we went to Tobago, and Mom was just like, we sat in front of the plane and we were not moving. And she said to all three of us, she said, you three are all you have in this world. Right. You stick together. Yeah. And I never forgot that. And then they just hustled us out of there and they took off without us. I think, she had just, been, Dad left her, and she had 3, you're a single mom with 3 kids.
Oh,
I mean, that's like, and Dad was not, my dad he had a lot of great qualities, but he was not a moneymaker. He was not a business guy. He was not like, couldn't take care of that. That's a tough position. And I remember Linus, the guy we were we went to France with him and me and Nico, And, this guy's insane. We're scoring hash at Notre Dame. We're like, he's turning us on to Coke, all these Coke connections. We're 17 years old. We were drinking in his room. He's introducing us to Bavincourt rum, which is like and all these drinks. And we had a half yard, which was like you poured beer in it. It was a half yard of booze.
Right.
But we got to, Nico made this recording. And I'll never forget, I was saying what a dick Ben was. And he said, your poor mother, what was she supposed to do?
Right.
I mean, she had you kids. I mean, she didn't have a pot to piss in.
I know she thought this was a way out,
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why she stuck with it.
You got drunk at her wedding. That I love.
At 10 years old, yeah. It's great.
Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of Kill Me Now with Rob Sedgwick. What a life, huh? What a life. Read the book. It's really good. Kill Me Now is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling. This podcast would not be possible without the help of Brittany Jo Sowards. Please subscribe. Please leave a review. Make sure it's 5 stars like I'm an Uber driver. Yeah. Buy my book. Yes, I can say that when they come for the comedians. We're all in trouble. Can you believe I'm saying that for a year? For a year. This book has been out for a year. It's a great book. And if you're in the car driving, you can get the audiobook. Watch Hysterical on Hulu. I'm giving you all these things that you need to do. And go to my website, judygold.com, because you can order my book there. You can see what I'm doing. I'm going to Atlanta on August 1st. I'm in Provincetown all summer, 2 days a week, Friday and Saturday in July, Tuesday and Wednesday in August. Twitter and Insta at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD, because I'm a Jew and I spell it like that. And people get insulted, but I don't fucking care. So that's it. Please be safe. I'm now wearing my mask when I sign books and stuff after my show because, Delta variant, what's that flower you have on? So be safe. If you're not vaccinated, you're mentally ill and are fucking selfish. Okay, so that's it. I love you all for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great week. I'll be back next week with part 2. And as we always say, so long.
Don't forget to tune in next week to Just Kill Me Now.
It's Just Kill Me.
Oh. Don't forget to turn for part 2 on Just Kill Me.
No, it's not. It's
Just Kill Me.
No.
Judy Gold's Just Kill Me.
Just.
Just Kill Me Now.